Councillor Daniel.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I was at the meeting last night and I really felt that it was very helpful to see what the plans are and what we're aspiring to. And I think this cuts across more than just the economy, doesn't it, this section? And I would like to see it included across more of the plans in West Devon, so it isn't siloed, so that we can say that this is something, because it's to do with well-being as well as the economy, isn't it? And it's to do with natural environment as well. So, no, I really would like to make sure that it's prominent. Thank you.
Right, thank you for that, and I hope that helps.
Thank you.
But want to get a huge thanks for last night. You were amazing. I will just say to those that weren't there, Mr. Brooks and his infinite wisdom. Oh, is he there? I'll say what he said. This is probably going to take 20, 30, 50 years. Just to quote you, Mr. Brooks.
Madam Chair, I think I said 50, didn't I? I think, yeah, let's just...
But another bit you'd say, well, that might be 20 or whatever.
Well, the voice of realism, nothing else.
Can I just make a point on that, though? I mean, I know we're laughing about it, but actually the whole reason for this strategy is, certainly in my view, councils are very short-termist. And, what we've actually got here is a long-term plan. And actually, whilst 50 years might be a little bit excessive, actually this is about long-term plans for the sustainability of the borough. And the whole strategy is based on that. And I think, it's right that it's longer term, whereas traditionally councils thinking council cycles, and this needs to be longer term. So whilst I agree 50 years is a bit too long term, the idea of having a long-term vision and a long-term strategy is really important.
We don't have a single member at the moment that would get us to 50 years. And I don't think Mr. Brooke intends staying quite that long, do you, Chris?
It is such fun.
It is. Do you agree, Chris, that maybe we should keep it as separate because of the prominence? But it's not the prominence. I think it's the will of the council that really wants what you and Sarah were talking about last night, with these open ways of footfall, of horse riding, bridleways and everything else, that it just needs to be kept. I think, to use Councillor Hayworth's, not in the compost. But we keep it alive, and it's easy for members to pinpoint as opposed to having to look for it somewhere.
It's Madam Chair, if you're after my opinion, to be honest, the work's going to happen. The commitment is there. Whether it's split out or not will make no difference to the fantastic work Sarah and her team are going to do. And I'm a very keen advocate on all things active travel. So I think I'll leave that decision to the members, but rest assured, no matter how it's described in the strategy, the activity will go on.
Thank you. And a thank you to you, Chris, as well for last night. It was just excellent. I have to say, one of the best meetings I've been to for a long time, where we've been able to have such a good discussion. So thank you both. Right, Sarah, moving on to your next one.
Thank you. Okay, so TU 1.4 progress plans for an eco-museum across West Devon to maximise the assets of the UNESCO World Heritage Site, our Dartmoor National Park and Tamar Valley AONB. So this has been slow progress due to rejection of our community renewal fund. It has set us back somewhat, around 7 months in total. The proposed boundary, the narrative and brand is all in development, and I'm aiming for delivery around the end of April. But further to a conversation with Neil yesterday, Mr. Hawke yesterday, I will probably be fast tracking this toward the end of the month in terms of launching a consultation. So this will have a digital presence, and as long as it is physically possible to get it online by the end of the month to utilise some funding that needs to be spent, then that's what we'll be doing. But it will be a consultation portal for our stakeholders to engage with us. So we are going to try and deliver something within just squeaking in to this financial year. There is a strong likelihood also that we will include the Eco Museum project within our Shared Prosperity Fund bid later this year. It does allow for place-based activity around culture and heritage from the information that is rather limited, but the information that is available from the government as we sit here. So I am hopeful that the Eco Museum can sit loud and proud within that bid. More information to follow. 11 prospective town centre travel hubs are also in discussion, which is led by the Dartmoor National Park, including Oakhampton, Tavistock, Yelverton and Princetown. This is a slow burn. It will take many, many more months of discussion, but the concept fundamentally is that we work with Devon County, our neighbouring district authorities and a number of the stakeholder parties within those areas to create travel hubs, small travel hubs, to reduce and minimise car use within the national park and to encourage more walking, perhaps bus travel, perhaps also cycling. So there are lots of connecting points here. So active travel will sit very large within the Eco Museum concept, and those travel hubs will help us to do so. So it's quite an exciting project. I'm very excited about the Eco Museum prospect, and whoever came up with the idea originally, I really do thank them because I think it's going to be the best thing for our borough.
That's good. May I just ask, are you working with Deborah Bowden from the UNESCO?
She's retired.
Oh, has she?
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
That has set us back a little.
Yeah,
We were,
significant.
yes, we've seen.
Sally is just locum at the moment.
That's right. We've seen less traction since Deborah moved on. Deborah was very helpful and instrumental, I think, in helping us with our CRF bid last year. But things change, relationships change, but we will continue to work forward, and they are absolutely a key stakeholder, as will be the UNESCO biosphere as well, which tips the northern part of our borough. And in the consultation of the boundary, that conversation is going to be very important around where the line of the inclusions actually falls. So the asset list will also become very important, and this is going to take us, I think, some time to discuss and nail. We probably won't please everyone, but I'm really, as I say, excited about this. I think it is something that we can absolutely maximise for our borough, and borough-wide, not only a small proportion of the borough. So it's something we'll continue to progress, but I'd welcome any more comments.
Councillor Sellers, please.
Thank you. Thanks, Sarah. As a councillor, I received quite adverse comments about cyclist behaviour, and I'm sure I'm not the only councillor to do that. And I'm not saying that all cyclists are badly behaved, but some are very badly behaved, and I've actually on more than a few occasions, I wonder actually whether it's how many brownie points there's to polish off the local county councillor. Luckily, I'm not paranoid, but I was just wondering, when you're doing all this, is there any emphasis on code of conduct? Because it's all well and good having these tracks where there are cyclists, horses, dog walkers, etc., but without common courtesy. And I have to say, some of the people that nearly polished me off were well in their 60s, so is there anything about the behaviour? Because I would really like to be able to support this. I am on the executives of the Tamar Valley Area of Outstanding Natural Beauty and the World Heritage, and it's great, what we're aspiring to and everything. But I do have a lot of sympathy with a lot of the complaints that I receive. Thank you.
Thank you for the comments. There are national guidelines, ways of behaving. Unfortunately, it's so hard to police. So whilst we would, of course, want to see the best behaviours of everyone, horse riders, dog walkers, people walking on their own, anyone, we would need to make sure that we're being consistent in our messaging and signage and orientation and all digital and print documents. So there's a consistency and a cohesive approach. However, I think it has to be accepted we cannot control individuals. So it's a risk, but a risk that everyone faces across the land. It's not only obviously our borough. So we'll do our best,
Yeah, good.
and we're aware of it. So thank you.
Thanks, if I may, Chairman. It's just that I do think if this is going to be something which is going to take so long, which actually I hope it's faster than that, I'm sure we all do, but we need to encourage people, and bad behaviour, it's just something that we need to have in our policy, I suggest, even though there are national guidelines.
Councillor Kimber, please, and then Councillor Kemp.
Just a comment on behaviour, we could put it in the literature. We could encourage people to be friendly, say hello to each other, like Devon people do. Yeah. But my comment was about the Eco Museum. Is that a well-known term? Because people I've spoken to don't understand what it is.
Thank you, Councillor. Eco Museum, the concept of Eco Museum originated in the 70s in France. It is a global phenomenon, and particularly successful in China and Japan and Canada. Here in the UK, there are currently 40 different Eco Museum sites, and I'm sure that none of us ever knew about them until someone came up with the concept for us. So I think, in truth, there needs to be an education, but I see opportunity in that because it will pique curiosity. So if we can describe it cleverly in the narrative, so we nail it, and for those people who would like to hear the romantic version of the description, an Eco Museum is a museum without walls with a sky above. And this is to celebrate our culture, our heritage, our living heritage that still exists, and our natural landscapes and our natural capital within those landscapes. So it ticks a lot of boxes for West Devon and our plan for West Devon. In terms of locations, we have such amazing areas with the number of conservation areas that we have, the AUNB, the 2 UNESCO World Heritage Site areas, the Dartmoor National Park, the list keeps going. And I'm sure we'll find more as we dig. So I think if we can perhaps turn that term of Eco Museum more into celebrating the assets within. So it becomes more a discussion or a dialogue or a connection emotionally and physically with the landscapes, then I think we're onto a winner. And then I think we'll be targeting quite a lot of people coming in who are more eco-minded, perhaps, who want to use bikes, who want to walk, who want to celebrate the land, and hopefully leave their cars at home.
Councillor Kemp.
Thank you, Lady Chair. First of all, to my great surprise, not to my great surprise, to my pleasure, I really love your description of an eco museum and see that as a way actually of telling the story of something that was here already. So what you were doing is sort of outlining a verbal book, if you will, about the area, which I think is a wonderful idea. And I think you might find that many of us would like to participate in that storytelling. So I don't know how much you can open that up to people. I'm sure people would like to start telling the stories of their own area. I don't know whether that is something that you had in mind, but I would be very interested to see how this grows. The other point that I wanted to make was about cycling. And I know Councillor Kimber has said, and very rightly, that people are friendly and will just say hello to each other. But what we have with bicycles are vehicles on the road that are unlicensed. And I was wondering whether licensing vehicles might be something that is in somewhere on the horizon. Just because we've licensed our dogs, we are actually licensing things that we take in to public places. And if there was some way of being able to identify, well, it's not just that blue bicycle with the old person on it, it was number something or other that ran over my foot, might make life simpler. That's just an idea.
Thank you for the comments, Councillor.
Before you go, Councillor Spector's got one, and then we put them all together, hopefully.
Thank you, Chair. Very quickly. Yes, there are people who ride bicycles who don't necessarily demonstrate a great deal of courtesy towards other people. I walked across the car park this afternoon to come into this building and someone's dog tried to trip me over. It doesn't matter. It's not the dog's fault. It's just one of those things. It's not the owner of the dog's fault that their dog's excited by the sight of my shoes, but he was. So whether you ride a horse, a bicycle, or a pedestrian, manners are free. But I think it's important to. I don't want to see cyclists vilified in this. There are people who care more about the welfare of the people around themselves, and there are those who don't. I think all modes of transport, whether it be feet or boards or bicycles or hooves, I think that applies equally.
I think we could be quite enterprising here and maybe suggest that people who sell bicycles, that you have a label on it, just one of the tags, and it just says about courtesy towards others, particularly on cycle tracks that are dogs, humans, whatever. And it's just there when you buy your bicycle. The same as you get a handbook when you buy a washing machine. It's not too different. And maybe, it is just about courtesy. But sometimes, I've been out on walks and you have to jump and little Bentley has to go in all his directions because they're competing with one another on a track. Because to them it's round track as some of the trails, and they do bits and they want to race each other. We understand that as well, but it's not really our place here to be sat here saying that we'd like better manners, because yes, we would, but it's not an aspiration that we can deliver upon. It's circumstance, how an individual chooses to behave. So I think if we can move on from cycling behaviours and maybe now move to, were you going to talk about cycling behaviours?
Yes, I will.
Yeah, well, we're moving on. Thank you, Carrie. If we can move on to digital, is that where we're next? Yeah.
Thank you. T1.5 champion improved digital broadband and mobile phone connectivity across West Devon. I would consider this probably to be the most successful part of our whole theme at this point in time. We recruited Gemma Bristow into the post in June last year, and since then she's been engaging with Connecting Devon and Somerset, the Local Government Association and the Rural Services Network. She is due shortly to present to the Rural Services Network on a national basis, discussing the West Devon and South Hams activities that she's been doing, and the Local Government Association consider that Gemma and her work here with us is trailblazing and pathfinding. Those are the two terms that are being described. And she has, with my support, created an evaluation report, and that report is going to be sitting, I'm reassured, on the desk of the chair for advisory committee for DCMS. So I am delighted that at government levels we are being heard for our local community's benefit. It's not all positive, I will say. That report is very truthful, and there have been some significant challenges to us in terms of obtaining data, not just GDPR issues, but other issues, just the availability of information. It's really quite difficult to reach it, to find it. But also, it's about how the government is perhaps choosing to roll out, and perhaps it's the loudest communities that are actually being serviced first. We also forget often the rurality of our regions, and because we have such a blend in West Devon of the rurality, but also the water fringe of our borough, and also the coastal fringe in South Hams, we're quite a unique challenge to present to anyone in incorporating digital and connectivity through digital means. But it's vital. So we are being listened to, we are being heard, and we're given those forums. So I'm delighted. And I will say at this point that Gemma is an absolute star and someone that we need to, I think, celebrate in our organisation at this point. She has also started to work on enhancing engagement with the farming community, and members recently gave us advice on some other channels through which we may reach those farmers and the farming community. So we've acted accordingly, and Gemma's pursuing that now. So thank you.
That is brilliant. And Gemma, as you know, presents every other meeting to the ONS committee. So that is absolutely brilliant to know that her work has reached dizzying heights of government ministers and things like that, which, you know, is great. And to the person employed, well done. So any questions on that one? No? If you'd like to move on then, please, Sarah.
Thank you. T 1.6, offer business advice services to existing, expanding and new businesses. So Councillor Crozier referenced this earlier. All business parks, industrial estates and town centres have been visited, and discussions with businesses have been taking place in all of those centres. That has been led by two of my team, that's Chris Shears and Nita Jaram, and they have done the same in South Hants for reference. And we're building a business CRM database on the back of that. Extensive communications with businesses through the administration of the grants, and an extensive team within the council has been tirelessly working on this. And there are some colleagues that, again, you know, I'm so proud to work alongside. I think they're fantastic in their communications and their level of communication and support to businesses. Team Devon has been regularly engaged with, along with Tech and PEC. So we're working alongside Adam Williams as well with the climate change agenda and making sure that we are consistent across our approaches. And then Business Information Point has also been commissioned and more than 300 engagements have been achieved. Other work continues.
Any questions? Anyone on the board? No. What are those abbreviations you just used?
Tech and PEC?
Yeah.
I don't know that.
Okay, so it's the Tamar. Now you're tripping me up. There you go. Thank you very much. I knew I should have written it on the screen. So the Plymouth Environment Forum is working on the climate. So that's PEC, and Tech is Tamar Valley. So it's, if I may follow up, I will make sure that in our report we actually put that out in full.
Yeah,
we're so used to abbreviations.
In fairness, I should know too.
We need a glossary of terms, don't we?
Yes, we do.
The trouble is, when you sit on different things, like education, health, councils, sometimes you've got the same acronym, but it means something completely different. Yeah.
Right.
So the next one for Tavistock bid, and then you've got news of maybe an Oakhampton bid.
Okay, so moving on to the Tavistock bid. So this is T 1.9. We, as I mentioned earlier, are in constant touch with the Tavistock bid. So far in this financial year, we paid money towards the renewal campaign from the ARG Business Support Measures Fund. We also, which we saw a successful restart of that bid for another 5-year term. In terms of our levy contribution for our premises that West Devon Borough Council actually own within the bid area, we have paid £2,000 this financial year. That will continue next year and the year after. There's regular contact, as I've mentioned, with the bid manager, but also we've been looking at community recovery fund investment, access to the bid, and reviewing a possible signage campaign at Tavistock bus station. And there will be more activities coming forward over the next 12 months. I'm going to move quickly on to the Oakhampton
Can I ask a question about that? This came up at the Tavistock Police Matters the other day. And has it been mentioned anywhere within all this about CCTV in Tavistock?
I had a conversation with the bid manager, and we viewed that CCTV was probably more appropriate, rather than the bid, more appropriate to a town council. So where that conversation now sits, I'm not up to speed. I will take it away and see if I can learn some more information.
I'll speak to you after the meeting. But I have sent an email to the town council from the police, because it's the hottest topic the police have, is wanting CCTV in the town. And if the bid feel in the same way, it really needs to be addressed now as an issue and holistically, what have you. So I'll have a word afterwards, but thank you. Oakhampton then. Oh, do you want to talk about Tabby Bid?
Yeah.
You can have a lead.
I'm a long way from Tavistock, and I used to be on the parking committee, and Tavistock Bid used to come along to that, tell us all about their problems and how things were going. But I never hear anything about Tavistock Bid anymore. Where would I find out how things are going in Tavistock and Oakhampton? Talk to Mandy by the sound of it.
There are two sources. First of all, the bid will do regular reports, so I'll make sure that those reports are shared. And secondly, we have the bid website, which by regulation needs to be kept updated. So I can make sure that link is sent out with any notes of this meeting.
The bid manager, Jana, she does send out a monthly update as well, which I can forward to you or ask you to go on the list.
Yeah, thank you.
Right. Bit of Oakhampton now,
Oakhampton.
please.
Okay, so Oakhampton, there's a flurry of activity going on with Oakhampton. A bid is just one part of it, so I'll focus on the bid for this conversation. We have been working with Oakhampton Town Council members for over a year now in terms of liaison engagement, trying to build our knowledge and understanding of their needs in their town, but also the hamlets surrounding. We have engaged also recently with the Oakhampton Hamlets Parish Council chair and their clerk, and we have an open door to engage further and work with them alongside them. So that's really welcome. I'm very grateful to Oakhampton Town Council members who have supported me and my team over the past 12 months, and particularly in recent days where we have presented on 2 occasions in the past month. So we have conducted an informal survey of businesses, which was our team going door to door, basically informally having a chat, dropping in on business owners or managers in their premises. We then conducted a formal survey of businesses as we commissioned a third party to take that exercise out for us, which lasted about 6 weeks. 306 businesses were invited to take part in that formal survey. 42% responded, that's 127. Many had a limited memory of the first startup for a bid, the startup attempt back in 2013. And there was some support for a regular meeting or forum. Only 13% of those that responded actually knew what a bid was. So I'm going to put that out there and just disclose that. But I take that as an opportunity because many more could learn about it and not be anti necessarily from the get-go. So we've presented findings of these reports to Oakhampton Town Council on the 28th of February. We agreed in principle to continue to explore the creation of a bid for Oakhampton. And we agreed that our team would go away and flurry of activity in 3 weeks. We created a fully costed, what would it take plan to create a business improvement district for Oakhampton. So if we look at the farthest point, a ballot could be held in October 2023 and a bid then start up in April 2024. So that's like the outlying timeline. Lots of flurry of activity between now and then, as you might imagine. But before we go too far and we risk spending money that at the moment is not committed, what we want to do is take out a very dedicated, razor-sharp focused survey of businesses in the bid format. So we put a bid proposal together in its early stage, not shaped by businesses, but shaped by what we think businesses want, and take that as a discussion point. So a 3-month feasibility study conducted by an external partner who is an expert in their field in the creation of business improvement districts. So we're not swayed, there's no bias, it's just someone who can actually look at this objectively and say, can it win? Will businesses back it? And I'm delighted to say that last night, Oakhampton Town Council members discussed that report and they have agreed to go forward with that feasibility study with us. So we are funding it 50-50 through my budget, which is existing in this financial year. So we're going to commission that piece of work to start in April and run for 3 months. At that point, we reconvene, we check the findings, and we decide whether or not to press the button and go for a bid by backing businesses, or we say, we've looked at it, we've explored it, it's been looked at twice, park it, move on.
May I just ask, does it go up as far as Oakhampton Hamlets for that bid? You know, would the bid area go as far as Oakie Hamlets?
A very topical question. So I would look absolutely beyond the town centre.
Yeah.
And because of the prospect of a West Devon transport hub, the industrial estates and so on, and also some favour that we've seen from businesses outside in those hamlets, outside the town, I would recommend that we do consult through that feasibility study process. We've got the maps, we know the businesses, we've projected in terms of levy prospect, but ultimately the key message is that bids are business led. If there's no appetite amongst the business community, this falls flat on its face. Our role is to support and enable. So we will explore it and support businesses if they choose to step up and drive this thing. But if they choose not to through this feasibility response, then we wouldn't see any bid start in the town or in the hamlets. My guess is if we were to create a bid, if we would see the businesses step up, then it would expand into some parts of the hamlets. But how that geography currently falls has yet to be determined.
That was brilliant, thank you. Does anybody, oh, Mr. Molyneux.
You stole my thunder because that was the word I was going to use. Brilliant. That's what it is. Well done.
I was around when, I sat on the Tavistock bid for about 9 or 10 years, and was around when Oakhampton were trying to form theirs. I've not actually lived in Oakhampton, but I've worked in Oakhampton and know the area very well and some of the businesses. And it really didn't go down a storm the first time around, but I don't think they really got to understand what a bid was. And I'm not sure the town council understood at that stage either. So I think you're doing excellent work, Sarah.
Well, all we can do is try.
Yes, by the sounds of it, I think you'll have a positive response. Right, now we've done Oakhampton, so where are we now?
If I may, I can sum up the last two projects quite quickly for you.
Yes, please.
So TU 1.11, deliver a West Devon transport hub through the Government Levelling Up Fund. I mentioned last year, as we all well know, we didn't win that money in tranche 1. However, tranche 2 is set to open, and we believe that that will open in April, and we believe that submission will be June, but that's yet to be firmed by the government. We have spoken with Devon County, we have spoken with Sustrans, and we are proposing shortly to members that we go forward with submitting to Levelling Up Fund tranche 2. And Mr. Brooke has asked me to write that report, so that will be shared by the end of the week. And what we'll do is make sure that this time that we connect cycling, back to travel again, cycling into this multimodal transport hub proposal. We have received feedback from the Department for Transport and colleagues from BAID and colleagues from the Levelling Up Fund group, and they have said to us that we were very close last time, and we're led to believe that we will be, if we tweak it just a bit, we will be successful in round 2. We'll do our best.
The word I was going to use, have you got your tweaks ready? But clearly you've had feedback and know which tweaks you need to put in. So that's great.
More important, the tweaks are in the right direction.
Yes. Yeah.
And then linked to that, TU 1.12, submit the bid to the Shared Prosperity Fund. It's been delayed, so it's in now year 2 of our corporate strategy. We understand that it's going to be opening in the summer, but we're still not sure when. There has been pre-launch guidance published on the 2nd of February. You can have a look at it, but it's okay, but it's a bit vague. So we're still waiting for more detail to be really clear and prescriptive. £2.6 billion will be available over a 3-year period from 22 to 2025. And there will be themes of communities in place, local businesses, people and skills, and Multiply, which is an adult numeracy programme led by the government. Our team are currently working up a list of prospective projects for inclusion within the bid, working across departments of the council to make sure that we make the most of this potential fund. We're also reaching out to external stakeholders. National Trust have actually contacted us, so it's working both ways. So that's nice to know. But we'll be working closely with Dartmoor National Park, the World Heritage Site and others to explore projects to the point of shovel ready for inclusion within any bid. So we've got a few months, we've got a bit of time, and we'll continue to progress that. So if I may, Chair, I'd just like to put a final comment in before I turn more to questions, and that was to say thank you very much to members for their support to the Thriving Economy theme, to Councillor Crozier and to myself, and most importantly to my team, who really appreciate that. And without a fantastic team behind me, we would not be as far forward as we are. They are motoring, and any support you can offer them in the future going forward, I would really appreciate. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Crozier, would you like to add anything to that?
All I would add is they're doing a great job. They've come a long way in the last 6 months. Thank you.
I would just like to say, for everyone in this room, that is the first time Sarah has presented to a council meeting. You would never know. It was you were outstanding. Thank you so much, Sarah. You've answered everybody's questions. You've been so clear in what you've been saying. I was going to commend Mr. Brooke for employing you. You are a true asset to South Hams and West Devon. And, I've listened to you last night and today. You're one amazing lady. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right, where are we? Going back now to the beginning. And are we just noting? Right, so and the recommendations, we're noting that the OPD and Scrutiny Committee note the progress of the Thriving Economy Delivery Plan, and we make any recommendations to the Thriving Economy Advisory Group on areas for further exploration, which we've done within the active travel section. Is everybody in favour of that?
Yep.
There we go, thank you. You may run away, Sarah. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to meet you. Bye. Right, if we move to item 9, it's task and finish groups, and we don't have any. So if we could move to pages, the end of the meeting, 45. To the annual work programme. The work programme only goes as far at the moment as April because of the annual meeting at the end of the year. But we did discuss yesterday that we will put on what is coming up for May's ONS meeting. We will be taking out here it's marked third sector partners, Southwest Mutual Bank and West Devon CVS. We will be asking them to move to a different meeting because we have the long-awaited council delivery on housing, and we have a visit from Live West on housing. And we have probably rightly assumed that the housing issue will take a whole meeting because many members have a lot of comments about housing, etc. So we are going to move a couple of things. So that meeting will be really focused around housing. Councillor Sellis.
I think that's wise, Chairman. However, I am very interested in the CBS report. How would members feel if it were just a written report?
She would be asked to come to the May meeting. We're not getting rid of it.
No, I realise.
Just extend it to the next. I think we're going to go to the May meeting, aren't we?
Okay.
Yeah, we're just going to reschedule it to a later date.
Yeah, we just felt it was too much to have everything in on that one. Councillor Kent, please.
Yes, this is just a question of opportunity, but there is obviously a lot of talk at the moment about providing housing for refugees. Is that a slant on the housing problem that we are going to include in the next ONS meeting?
At the moment, the position on the refugees is everything that we've got on our website. And the fact is, this is another example of government making an announcement before policy then comes out. So ourselves and Devon County, we've been working really closely with Devon County, but despite the announcement saying you can register to take a refugee, the detail and the suggestion that there's funding available and funding for councils, although probably not our level of council, probably county, and there is no detail behind that. So at the moment, we don't know anything of it. I would say we treat that separately as a separate issue, and as we get information and the government give us the policies, we will make sure that we keep members of the public and members informed.
Thank you. That is obviously answering my question, but there might by that time be some data feeding back. So might we be having the opportunity to ask questions that are tending in that area?
Well, I mean, it will be, Izzy Blake will be coming along, and she's the person who's fronting that conversation with Devon County Council anyway. So, yeah.
May I also suggest, before I bring Mr Hawke, that if you've got any questions like that, send them to Mrs Blake now, so she's got them, unless Mr Hawke is about to contradict me.
I'm not going to contradict you, Chair. Just to say that while I've been sat here, I've been to and fro with Andy, and we will bring an update on the housing situation and our role in that to Council next week. So we will publish a short report because it's a rapidly changing beast. We're on a Devon County meeting tomorrow, but we will publish a good day before next week's Council meeting an update on exactly everything we know at that stage anyway.
Thank you, Mr Hawke.
Just before we finish, Councillor Mott sent us photos of the leisure centres, so we can.
We could, ping them to Mr Parkinson. Be the best. Right, members, what have we learned then?
May I, Jim? I believe that you've asked to take the volunteer suggestions to the parish meetings for citizens' advice. Complaints and compliments to be given to John P for his monthly meetings with Fusion, and any housing questions to Izzy now. Okay.
Thank you, everyone. That is the other one. Sorry.
I think what we've learned is that the thematic reports, when done well, are really, really informative in terms of, and it was a good discussion, and actually there weren't a lot of questions, but that was because it was so well articulated. And I think that's the standard. I would hope that we bring in all these thematic updates to Opium Scrutiny.
Yeah. I would like to thank you all for attending what has again been a really good meeting. Thank you all for engaging the way you have and asking questions, making salient comments and everything else. There were today. And just thank you all very, very much. You're a really good team, and it really works well.